Hey guys, this is the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show for February 21st, 2025. We're going to be doing something a little different today. We're going to touch on the Super Bowl, which is not quite different because we talk about that every day since the Super Bowl, but maybe from like a political perspective, with Taylor Swift and Donald Trump being there. And then maybe talk about Donald Trump's first month in office. Maybe talk about some other stuff like TV or video games and whatnot. So before we intro our co-host for tonight, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, I am wearing one of the shirts. This is a Pedo Pete t-shirt, which you can get. It's right on the screen here, actually. All these shirts, and I mentioned this yesterday, all of them designed by French designer Jean-Claude Herberoux. Actually, no, it's just me. But you can get 15% off all of these shirts. It's like $14 for high quality shirt. Like it's probably like the best deal you can find on the internet, like honestly. So yeah, you can get all these shirts that can really help out the show. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The latest book is Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people. Look, it has a 5-star rating too. It must be a great book. Also, you can go to How the 2020 MVP Was Stolen, also a 5-star rating. It's actually a true story about how Brett Favre tried to sabotage Aaron Rodgers 4 years ago when Rodgers won the MVP. So if you haven't heard the story, you're in for quite a treat. So check that out. Also, please consider super chats, super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. We've had some great ones recently. Slew, John Sanders, The Boss, all last week. And then before that, we had Can Make an Eagle and Alan Stafford. You guys have been so great with your support. Just can't say that enough because YouTube ads pay nothing. Well, they pay nothing all year, and they pay even less than nothing in Q1, which is January, February, March. It's pretty brutal. So you guys are really the backbone of the show. Just I can't say enough about how I appreciate your support. All right, we're joined by my friend, the Omnipheral, who was last on during election night, which was quite the evening here. It was I think our longest show ever. I think we did a 4-hour show, or it might have been a 5-hour show actually, because we did like 3 hours of the election, and then you guys all signed off, and then I did 2 hours with Evan doing the picks. And like as soon as Evan signed on, I'm like, Evan, like, can you talk for like a minute? I have to go to the bathroom. I've been sitting here for 3 hours. Yeah, we the first person on that night actually was the Omnipheral. So Omnipheral, how's it going? How's life been since the election?
It's been great. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I was super happy Trump won, obviously.
Yeah, it
And
was great. Yeah, it was.
yeah,
Good.
no, you go ahead. You go
No, it was.
ahead.
I actually I remember hedging like my expectations of Trump winning with Kamala winning the popular vote. I think I got her at like, I would say like it was super high. It was like 8-1 or 10-1. And I'm like, look, if if Trump doesn't win this, at least I win money or something. It's like that old adage of betting against your team. One of our friends used to do that with like the Flyers, especially. Like he used to bet against the Flyers always in the playoffs, and of course he'd win money because the Flyers would always choke, for the most part. So it's kind of the same sort of deal. But no, I mean Trump not only won the general, but I mean he won the popular vote as well. So it was quite the evening, and it was a lot of fun to talk with you. And we had like so many guests on that night. It was like a madhouse almost, but. Hey, we get to talk one-on-one for the first time in a while. So,
True. Yeah.
yeah, looking forward to it. So, I mean, you're a casual Eagles fan. I would say that. Like, I wouldn't say like you're like a big football fan at all. Like, you like the Eagles, you watch the Eagles, but you don't like follow like the rest of the NFL. Like, is that correct? And if so, like,
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I watch the Eagles games. I don't really know what's going on with like drafting, and I don't even know who's on the team until like the season starts, really. And
yeah,
I
I
kind of
mean,
like learn. Yeah.
yeah, it's basically like a casual fan. So, like, I don't know if you had any expectations of this Super Bowl season or anything. I mean, like, what were your general thoughts of the game itself, the Super Bowl? Because it's quite the beatdown. I don't know if anyone expected that. Most like we had 6 guests on the show. 4 of them picked the Chiefs and 2 of them picked the Eagles. Actually, 5 guests plus me. So it was like 4 picked the Chiefs and 2 picked the Eagles. So it was even amongst the experts, like it wasn't thought of as like a confident Eagles win. So what were your thoughts on the game in general before we get to anything else?
I mean, I was happy that the Eagles won. I was super excited. I mean, I thought I'm one of those people, I guess, who I think that I kind of do. I don't like when it's a blowout, even though like I do in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like cool that it was, but
Right.
it's also anticlimactic. So like it wasn't a super exciting game. Like it got to a certain point where there was no way of them coming back really, and so it's kind of like, why am I even watching still? You know what I mean? Again,
Yeah.
like I like when it's kind of a nail biter. Other people, like my wife, doesn't agree with me, and other people I talk to don't agree because it stresses them out when it's a nail biter.
Mhm.
But like I think it's more fun, like the last Eagles Super Bowl, where like they have to do trick plays, like the Philly special and things like that. It makes it a little bit more exciting. I will say that what's that guy's name? DeJean, like his interception. Yeah, like there were exciting plays, but it's just when they get to a point where they're up by so much, I was kind of like, all right, like if it was a normal game, I'd be like, all right, game's over,
Yep.
and turn. So I didn't like that aspect. Like I wouldn't say it was like a super fun game to watch, but obviously was happy that they won, and it was still exciting and fun.
You know what fixes that is live betting these games, and like you can basically bet on anything. Like I was watching the game with my dad, and like we were like live betting some like random stuff, and he's like, I didn't even know that you could live bet this stuff. I'm like, Dad, you can bet who's going to catch a pass on the next drive. Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you could bet anything.
Yeah, we both bet. It was, I think it was like 8-1 or 9-1 odds at halftime that the Eagles would score 41 or more points, and like we got a great number, especially when they got the touchdown to go up 34 to, was it 34 nothing at that point, or 34-6. So like we had 34 on the board, and we were like, all right, we just need a touchdown. And so like I was excited even though the game was well in hand, because like we needed 41. And of course, the Eagles kicked 2 more field goals, and they don't get the 41; they get the 40. So like we lose by like 1 point. That was so frustrating, especially because like I've said this before, but on CBS, if you go to like CBS.com and just track the game, they're actually ahead of the TV because of the whole Janet Jackson thing. Like everything's delayed. So you actually get to see what happens like 3 or 4 seconds ahead of time, or like 5 seconds. And like when the Eagles were up 40 to, what is it, like 40-14 or something, suddenly 46 popped up on the screen. I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen? And then like that was the play that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson caught the pick six, caught the interception and ran back. And of course, like that was wiped out by penalty. So like they reverted that as well. So that was my second half, even though the game was like decided, like straight up. I lost that big bet. That would have been a nice payout, like 9-1 or 10-1. But no, I was really confident in the Eagles. I love the Eagles. They were my favorite Super Bowl bet. Before
you told me before the season that you thought they were going to win the Super Bowl,
yeah,
or at least make it. Yeah.
You know what's funny is that the year before, when the Eagles were coming off the Super Bowl loss against the Chiefs, everyone asked me, like, people know what I do, right? Like if they know who I am, right? Like if my friends or family or whatever, the first question I get is like, if I see someone for first time in a while, they're like, how are the Eagles going to do this year? It's like first question. And I'm like, heading into 2023, I'm like, I don't think they're going to be that good this year, because they lost both coordinators. They lost some other players. Like I'm really concerned. And like the first thing I always heard from most people are like, oh, coordinators, who cares? And then heading into this season, I'm like, I really like the coordinators they got. I like the defensive players they got. And then everyone I talked to was like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, I must be living in the twilight zone, because like I thought this team heading into this year was so much better than the one heading into 2023. It's kind of funny how that works, because they were just coming off the Super Bowl loss they had in 2022. So I was happy with the result. Obviously, I was rooting it on. I hedged with the Chiefs. So, but it was a good game. It was entertaining, like for multiple reasons, I thought, because like even before the game started, Donald Trump went onto the field and he was cheered. He was the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl, which was kind of interesting. And I'll get back to that in a second. But and then Taylor Swift was pictured on the screen, and she got like booed pretty heavily. And she did that like monkey meme where like it's like looking straight, like straight.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've asked a couple of people like why like they thought Taylor Swift got booed. Like, do you have like any idea like why that happened?
Well, I mean, my opinion. I think Taylor Swift is mostly popular amongst like young people, like kids. A lot of them. There are definitely adults that like her too, but they're not like, I don't think a lot of them are like diehard Taylor Swift fans, like Swifties.
Right.
Especially people at football games. So I mean, I think people who watch football are just sick of seeing her. Um, and so I think she doesn't really resonate with like most football fans, and nobody really wants to see her in the audience. So when you see her, you're like, boo, forget it. Like nobody wants to see Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I also, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's it.
Oh, I thought that also. I felt like it's kind of like people were kind of sick of seeing her. Like you said, they were sick of seeing her, but like sick of her. Like she's kind of like shoved down everyone's throat almost. Because like I don't know. I look. I'm not a young person. We're the same age. We're 20 days apart. Like like to me, like her music is pretty mediocre. I've compared her to Meatloaf before, not the musician, but food. Like
Nah,
like
uh,
if you go to like a restaurant, you will never ever order meatloaf, right? Like you order like steak or a burger or whatever. You're never be like, oh, please give me your finest meatloaf, you know. But if you have it at home for dinner, you're like, oh, it's okay. And I feel like that's how I would describe the music. It's like if you hear it, it's like, it's okay. I'm not gonna like download it on iTunes or like have it on my playlist. Um,
nah. I mean, she's talented. She like anyone who writes and performs their own music. Writing your own music to me is key. So if you're a singer songwriter, I automatically have like a lot more respect for you, even if I don't really like your music.
mhm.
And I will give her credit. Like she writes some catchy pop tunes that are not my taste, but they're catchy, whatever. And I get why people would be into her. But like, she's annoying. She's like super wealthy and she's super rich. And like they were trying to use her as like a way to get young people into football, like people who weren't into it, like girls into it. And I think that's where it got annoying, that they were like overdoing it. And like people who already like football, like don't give a shit about Taylor Swift and like don't want to see her in every other shot on the screen. And I just think nobody was in the mood for it during the Super Bowl. They were like, forget this.
Yeah. Do you think it had anything with her like backing the wrong horse? Because she came out and supported Biden.
But that's possible too, that she got involved at all in politics. And like, people like resent that. They're like just some rich person, like some rich celebrity thinks that they can like sway people and like has to get involved, and nobody cares what she thinks. I mean, I think it's all that. I just think it's like they were resentful of seeing her all the time, that she was like pushed in your faces when you're trying to watch football. And that she got involved in politics and like she's annoying and kind of like a 30-some-year-old toddler mentality. Like she tries to act like she's like yeah, exactly. She tries to act like she's a teenager and she's like 30-some years old. I just think like, I don't know, she like people who don't love her, she gets on the nerves a little bit, understandably.
Yeah.
Like a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, and I think something else, and maybe you're not like privy to this because you're not like a football fan. To like you like again you like the Eagles, but you're not like a diehard football fan. Like there was a lot of like chatter about the officials rigging games in favor of the Chiefs because they wanted the NFL wanted Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl, to increase the ratings. And so there were a lot of sketchy calls in Kansas City's favor in the two playoff games before the Super Bowl. And then like I don't know if you remember the first drive where Jalen Hurts threw a deep pass to AJ Brown to caught the ball, and then they whistled the offensive pass interference. I was this was like the like that was a bad call in Kansas City's favor. That was like the entire playoff against Houston in the second round because they had a bye in the first round, and then against Buffalo in the AFC Championship. Like there were so many bad calls in Kansas City's favor, and so that was I as soon as that happened, I tweeted out the fix is in because like they were doing it again. But like the fact that they were there, I think that's all the NFL wanted. I'm not saying it was definitely rigged or anything, but I'm saying that like it may like I'm sure the NFL definitely wanted the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So
well, that plays into what I was saying, like that they were using her as a way to try to attract people to watch football, like people that wouldn't normally. And so when you do that, like when you do like overdo it and show her at every game and try to use it as like a marketing tool, it starts to even make people think like, oh, maybe you're rigging games to get her there. And you're doing, you know what I mean? It like breeds that kind of thinking. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying like it plays into it. Like it's all part of the same thing. It's like the resentment, and then you start to think like, what are they doing to try to get her there? And it's because they're trying to like capitalize off of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like just nobody's interested in seeing Taylor Swift. Who wants to watch football? They're really not. Yeah, like you either watch it to watch Taylor Swift. Like there might be little girls that like tune into the game to watch Taylor Swift, but don't care about the game. And there's people that tune in to watch football. There's not like, I don't think there's anybody doing both.
There's no Venn diagram with like both in the middle.
Not really. Like I don't think anybody's like cheering. Like I don't think anyone who's diehard into football is like diehard into Taylor Swift, where they're like screaming whenever she comes on and screaming during the. I just don't imagine that anyone has that personality. I just can't imagine it.
Yeah, there's some weirdo fan listening to this. Like, wait a second, I love
I
Taylor
mean,
Swift.
there's people who like Taylor Swift, but I don't
Right.
think you're either tuning in for one or the other. I think mainly.
I'm surprised they didn't get her to perform halftime. I'm sure. I'm sure they probably asked her. I don't know if they did or not, but if she was at the game, might as well, right? Like, and I don't. What did you think of the halftime show? I have to ask you that.
I mean, garbage. I don't. It's not. I mean, I don't really love rap unless it's like amazing rap. Like I like old school, like kind of rap. And yeah, I thought it was horrible. I didn't like, what was it like? There were no white people in it, which um, there was no one. There was all black people, which no other race would get away with, especially white people. If they did that during halftime, it was like super political. It was like exactly what I didn't want to see during the game.
Yeah, they can't even get Snow White to be white anymore. Like it's
that that movie's gonna bomb horribly, so don't worry about it.
Oh my god, it's gonna be terrible. I couldn't understand what the guy was saying. It was like Kendrick Lamar was his name. I never heard of him
Yeah.
even before it was announced that he was the performer. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him. I know he's like famous and like people consider him like one of the best rappers. Like they consider like Kanye one of the best, and I don't understand. I don't like any of his music. I don't get it. Like Drake sucks. I don't get it. So I just wasn't into it. Like I had no interest in watching it, and I think I watched like a couple minutes of it. And I was like, crap. And like, yeah, I want to see like a real band. Like like back in the day, like, or if you had like Michael Jackson or like like real music. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, they had Prince at one halftime.
Yeah, like Prince is like a legit like one of the best musicians of all time.
Yeah.
I don't even love his music, but he was like super talented. I don't know. It just wasn't what I was into.
Yeah, I like I said, I couldn't understand what he was saying. And although there was like one point toward the end, he's like, "Turn the TV off." I'm like, I tweeted, "I'm like, well, if you insist."
Yeah, I know.
So
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I had it on the whole time because I was preoccupied like trying to find second half bets for the Super Bowl. But I was my dad was like appalled by it. He was like, what is this crap?
Yeah, I mean, it's crap. It's like, come on, have like a real show.
Yeah, I mean, no. I feel like anyone over 50 is just not going to like it at all. And we're kind of close to that, by the way.
I mean, kind of, yeah,
kind of, yeah. I don't know if you thought I proposed this idea on Saturday. I want to hear what your thoughts about it. I don't know why they always have music on Super Bowl. I guess it's to like drag the normies in, but no football fan is just like, oh, I can't wait for the music performance. Like it's so weird. And the halftime's longer. Like a regular halftime is 12 minutes, whereas a Super Bowl halftime is 30 minutes. So just for the music, and it just doesn't feel like a real game. And I always thought that like, why not try something different? Like, why not like NFL Quizzo or something, where like people can go online, online, submit their answers, and it would have to be like super quick. So like people couldn't look it up, like maybe even like have multiple choice or something, but like have it like or just a really fast. And I think that would have people engaged. And I would like to see them try something different because it just seems like they keep having like these bad performers every year. Like once in a while you get a good one, but most of the time it's like it's either like some washed up performer or some guy I never heard of and turns out to be terrible, and and then like Samuel L. Jackson's there for some reason. It just
that was weird. I mean, yeah, I see why they do it, and I do think people look forward to the halftime show. But I think it has to be good. Like I get the idea, like it could be like a cool kind of like free concert for people to watch on TV, and I get why that's like exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've had like bad musicians, and I wouldn't be against them trying something different. I don't know what else would be like engaging, but I get the idea. Like I do know people that are. I mean, I'd be into it if it was somebody good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't care that much, but if it was somebody that I don't really ever get to see like perform live, that'd be kind of cool. But I don't really care. I mean, yeah, I think most people care about the football game, and the halftime thing is just like people who aren't watching football might tune into the halftime. I mean, I get why they do it.
Yeah, I feel like all the normies are like halftime show and commercials, and I thought the commercials were the disappointment too because
horrible, really bad.
Well, not only were they bad, but we were also promised like 6 Elon commercials about Doge, and that just like never happened. I don't know. I guess it was fake news or something. But like,
probably
but like even my parents were like, "Oh, I heard there were Elon commercials." My dad was like on the edge of his seat. Like usually, like my dad will fall asleep throughout like the middle of the second quarter, like during a game, like any game, just because he's always tired.
Mhm.
But like he was watching like a hawk, like at these commercials, like, where is this Elon? Is this Elon? And it's like, it never transpired. So I don't know what happened there. But anyway, as far as Trump getting cheered, I saw like he got like some backlash, of course, as he usually does, as he always does.
Well,
Like you
yeah,
say.
yeah, of course, yeah.
The people on Twitter were like, all the leftists were like, I can't believe how much money Trump is costing this country by being there, and like they're like, this costs like $3 million. Like there was just some random number they threw out there. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, what? Like, what are you talking about? It costs
Well,
money when he goes anywhere. I mean, what?
look, he costs money if he sits in the Oval Office because the Secret Service has to protect him. Like
They're just looking for things to bitch about. I don't even read Twitter. I mean, it's all nonsense. It doesn't reflect what society thinks at all.
oh no, I mean there are so many paid people on Twitter. Like there are paid people on the right for sure, but there's so many paid people on the left, and I have to wonder if it's coming from the USAID money that will
I mean,
go away quite soon.
and I think it's that the people who are on Twitter either have a reason to be because they have like a business or like exposure, or like they just want attention. And like most people, like the average person is not on Twitter sitting there saying everything they're thinking at all times. It's a certain type of personality that's on Twitter, and that's why it's like the vocal minority. And I think that back in the day, companies used to think that it reflected like what the general population thought.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they realize now that Trump won the popular vote, which was key, that that's not what the general population thinks. And so they stop listening to like the vocal minority on Twitter. But that's why I don't ever read Twitter, because like it just pisses you off, and it doesn't reflect anything of society. It's just people looking for attention. People who are like anonymous can say whatever they want. It's people who don't even like actually think what they're saying. They just like the attention. They like to rile people up, which is fine. I get it. Like I do get trolling. I think it's funny. I get why you'd want to do that. But like, it's like you can't take any of it seriously, because it's just people looking for attention, or people just, having fun and being anonymous on there.
I love trolling, I have to admit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I mean, the Trump trolls, the Elon trolls. I get it. I get why people do it, but it's like, it's like, thank God, like companies aren't taking it seriously anymore, because I really think that's what it was. They went on Twitter and thought that that's like really what people believed was like the nonsense, radical left nonsense.
Yeah, well, that was insane, and you're right. Like it was very important for Trump to win.
Huge, the biggest thing. Yeah, huge.
Yeah, and now I love trolling like people on the left. Like every time they complain about Trump, or like sometimes they say like, "Oh, he's going to be impeached." I was talking to someone in the fantasy football space over the weekend. He was like, Trump's going to be removed within a year.
Removed?
I'm like, congratulations on the dumbest post I've ever seen. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, why aren't you engaging me in a conversation? And like, to his credit, we did have a talk about it, like a serious talk about it, because this guy does produce good content. So like, I was, I did want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's actually not even a leftist. I think he was just like pessimistic about like, I guess like maybe he was just. He was not like, I don't know, like maybe not, maybe too black-pilled, I suppose, just because he had seen like all this bad stuff happen throughout the years with the government and whatever. But I was like, who is removing Trump exactly? Like the Republican House, the Republican Senate,
right? Yeah, no, there's no. Even if it wasn't, even if the Republicans didn't control it, there probably still wouldn't be enough to remove him. It's not like that easy to remove a president. It wouldn't happen. I mean, unless he did something egregious.
Right. Like, I said this. I'm like, anyone who tries to do it, their political career is over. Like not only will the voters like hate that person, you're gonna have like Elon's money thrown against them. You're gonna have like Scott Pressler like come and save the day. Like the great stuff that he did in Pennsylvania. It's basically it. And like we saw with Mitch McConnell today, like he voted against Tulsi Gabbard, he voted against RFK, and he just announced his retirement today. I don't know if he's like technically retired, but he said he's not running for re-election, which is
I mean, he also is like all messed up. He's like super old and he like freezes on camera and stuff. He's done. Like he should have retired a while ago.
He's like that meme with like the loading thing with the NPC and like the brain is loading. That was actually
Yeah,
that's
I
like
mean,
quite literally him. Like he just froze. Like,
it freaked me out. It's sad. I don't like seeing old people like have mental breakdowns on TV. It's sad. Like, yeah, he needed to retire regardless.
yeah, I don't. I'm conflicted because you're right. It is sad, but at the same time, like this guy's such a scumbag. You know,
He's
it's
not
so
the
hard.
worst. I mean, he's whatever. He's leaving anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. He is not the worst, but he's pretty bad. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I was, I was
All of Trump's picks got confirmed anyway, so fuck him.
Cash Patel, by the way, was confirmed today. So how soon do you
He,
expect the Epstein list to come out? I can't
I
wait
don't
for that.
know. I mean, they were just saying that they were going to release the JFK thing, and then some lady went on TV and said that they were two shooters, and then I haven't heard anything about it since. I don't really know what's going on.
I think they have until I think that was like March or something, or that's I think that's when they said that was gonna be released. And they assembled this team of like Congress people to handle the release of it.
Oh yeah,
Just
right.
it's like so long. Like I know Anna Polina, I forget her last name. She is the one Congresswoman. She's on it. There are a few others because it was like so long. Like some of the MLK stuff got leaked out, and like he was into some kinky things.
I mean, what a shock. I mean, anybody.
Right.
So they're all like anybody who wants to be. I mean, I'm not saying MLK was a good guy or whatever. I mean, even if he was into kinky things, but like basically, it takes a certain personality to be in like politics and to be in any kind of position like that. And like, yeah, there's always going to be like fishy things. Like nobody's like squeaky clean.
Yeah. No.
Anyway.
No. No. Definitely not. I'm pretty optimistic about this. So like, I mean, I think this marks a whole month that Trump's been in office. Yeah, it's January 20th. So
It feels like years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it's gone by quick. I don't know. It like now that I say it's been a month, it feels longer, but at the same time, it feels like it's blew by as well. I don't know. Like what do you make of Trump's first month? Like how good of a job or how bad of a job do you think he's done so far?
I mean, it's way more insane than I expected. Like I didn't expect him to do so much so quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew he was going to do a million executive orders like day one, but I didn't know it was going to be like so much. I'm not against it. I don't know like all the cost cutting stuff. It's like a bit chaotic, and I don't know how it will affect like the functioning of certain agencies. But it seems like they have a pretty good handle of like what they're doing and who they're firing and like how it'll affect certain things. I mean, I'm glad they're doing whatever. Regardless, everything they're doing, I'm for. I'm for cutting all that stuff. I'm for getting rid of the fraud and the waste and like getting rid of these agencies that don't do anything and are bloated and all the bureaucracy. I'm for all of it. I like everybody that Trump picked for like his cabinet. And yeah, I mean, so far I think it's pretty good. I mean, as far as like his performance, I mean, the only thing I've always been conflicted. I never know if like what he's saying is calculated. I used to think that like he would just say stuff and like, he kind of like didn't think and would just say things.
Yeah.
But it was more about his actions. Like I was like what people always say, like, don't take him literally, but like take him seriously. Mm-hmm. That is kind of like my feelings on Trump. And then like I've recently come to think that like what he does is more calculated and that he just kind of like, can't reveal his hand when he's doing it. So like things like threatening Mexico and Canada with tariffs and saying he's definitely going to do it. And then, but using it as like a bargaining tool.
Right.
And I think a lot of what he says is like a bargaining tool. And like the media obviously like runs with it and says that he's like nuts and what he's going to ruin the economy. But like, he can't come out and say it's a bargaining tool because that would ruin the whole point.
Exactly.
So like, so I do think a lot of what he does is that. But then there's other things that he says that I never know, like the stuff, and I know you're not going to agree with me on this, but the stuff that he was like recently saying about Ukraine and like Zelensky. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about Zelensky. I don't know. But like the stuff he was saying about Ukraine, that like Ukraine like started the war and all that, like I don't agree with that. And I don't know if he's saying that on purpose to like try to get into a certain position with Putin to like get Putin to the bargaining table or like to try to like like a pretense, like cozy up to Putin to get him to do things, or if it's to get Europe more involved. I do think a lot of what he does is to get other players more involved, and he tries to like manipulate them into doing it. So like, including like the Middle East, when he said like with Hamas, he like makes threats like we're gonna rain, like all hell's gonna break loose or whatever, is like obviously a way to like get them to do what he wants, and that's like what pretty much led to the ceasefire, is like these threats. The same thing with the tariffs, the same thing with like other things. Like I do think a lot of it is just like to try to get different. Oh, and also like in the Middle East, I think that he threatens things like, oh, the Gaza thing, like how he says he wants to turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Mediterranean. Like that's like, I was like, what is he talking about? Like, I mean, I don't think it's like necessarily a bad idea. I think that like it's good to think of ideas that will actually maybe. I don't think that idea would work, because I don't know if you could ever get away with it, like kind of just forcing them out. And I don't know if it would work like internationally, but I think he said that just to get other players more willing to get involved. Like nobody in the Middle East like wants to take in Palestinians, and so to kind of force their hand, I think he like says things like that. So I never know like what his deal is. I never know if he's like saying it because he's like either doesn't like somebody, like he doesn't like Zelensky, or if it's because he has like something up his sleeve. So I don't know, but I feel like in the end, it always has like a good effect regardless. Like I feel like what he says ends up having a benefit, even if it's like not PC or what people would, generally agree with. And that's like really all that matters, is like, I'm more pragmatic. Like it's like whatever the end result is. I like his policies are always like more moderate than he acts. And it always ends up having like usually a benefit. Anyway. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I think he's doing a good job. I agree with everything he's doing. I like all of his cabinet picks. And yeah, I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, I like everything. It's all everything he promised.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's fulfilling all the campaign promises. And speaking of being on Twitter too much, like I feel like every day I see some, leftist paid account going like, my 72-year-old neighbor said he regrets voting for Trump. I'm like why? Like Trump has done everything he said he's going to do, and like
it's been a month. Yeah,
right, and the whole nonsense about like I've seen so many people be like, I can't believe Elon has access to everyone's private information.
That's the most annoying thing. Yeah, that'll interrupt. But that annoys me more than anything. It's like they keep bringing up Elon personally. I don't really understand what they think. Like. And like all the people who work for Doge are like a lot of them are government employees that are looking into these things, that already have access to these things. And then the other thing is that do you know how many private contractors like work for the government in areas where they have access to classified information and sensitive things?
Oh yeah.
But like for some reason they make such a big deal out of him having Elon Musk. They're like, we didn't elect Elon Musk. Like nobody elected Elon Musk. He's an advisor to the president, and like it's up to the president to decide things. He doesn't have any power. It's all a ploy. I can't stand the media. It's the same nonsense that they're trying to frame everything in a way to make Trump look bad, and it's what you would expect. It is what it is.
It's crazy to me because, first of all, Elon had access to everyone's private information when he ran PayPal.
This is true.
Yeah. He already had that info. And second, like, I mean, you said it, like there is like Joe Smith working for the IRS who has your private information, and you don't even know who he is. And third, like this was on the campaign. This did not come out of nowhere. It's not like Trump got elected, and he was like, oh, by the way, Elon's a great guy. I want him in my administration. You never heard this before, but now I want him. Like we knew this ahead of time. Like you knew that Elon was going to set up something called a government efficiency, even called it Doge before the election. So
yeah,
this is what people voted for, quite literally. So
yeah, it's what people voted for, and he's just looking through things and seeing what could be cut and what is like fraud and why. Like it's so weird that anybody would be against that. And it's like it's just because it's Elon Musk. If like you had anybody else that nobody knew of running it, nobody would care, which is weird. It's like. The person I would actually be the least threatened by would be like the richest man in the world who like really doesn't, you know what I mean? Like there's no like greed. I mean, he might be greedy in some way, but like he'd be like the person I'd be least worried about to do anything fishy. Like, you know what I mean? They're just trying to, it's all just to make everything look bad and like to make Trump look bad. And it's all nonsense. And I think that the establishment politicians, especially the Democrats, are like, who are involved in all these like scams and stuff, don't want any of this looked at. I think that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
And I think the bureaucracy was what the Democrats always thought, that like even if the Republicans were in power, they always had like the deep state bureaucracy to still do what they're bidding. And I think that's what they're upset about. I think that like they're not going to have that anymore. Like they're cutting out all this like deep state nonsense of like unelected people, like in the bureaucrats who like really are controlling things. And that the Democrats always thought that like they always had them to kind of like work. That's what happened in Trump's first term, is like there were people like working against him within the FBI. And there are people working against him, like, and I think that, you know, they're worried about that. I think they're worried about fraud getting exposed, and I think they're mainly worried about themselves.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. They're freaking out. I mean, like the 10 of the 20 most wealthiest counties in America all surround Washington D.C., and there are so many houses for sale now, and I think they're freaking out now just because they lost their money. Like the USAID stuff that, like, you know, you hear about like so many millions being sent over for like transsexual puppet shows in Morocco. Like this stuff is nonsense, and like the money wasn't going there. Obviously, it's going to other people. You know,
there's that. Yeah, I mean, that's like, I can't believe nobody thought that was going on. Like that. Any kind of agency that gives out grants to people, like the grants are going to like whatever they feel like, or fraud.
Yeah.
Of course, like they don't care. It's like government money. They just like hand it out to like whatever they feel like the pet projects.
Yeah. Speaking of government,
and you know that in DC, like I think it was like the internet search for criminal attorneys like went up like 400%. You saw that? Yeah, that's true. So that tells you something.
Yes. Yeah, I'd love to eat. It says Republicans have gotten elected all my life promising to shrink government and cut its spending, etc. Finally, someone actually does it, and politicians lose their mind. Yeah, they lose their mind because their cash cow is gone. Like they're not going to make all this money. You mentioned it was like perfect. We're like all like the accusations, like Elon's trying to enrich himself. Like, he's already the richest man in the world. Like what? How exactly is he trying to enrich himself? And it's such projection because it's all these politicians who are making like low six figures who magically have 8 or 9 figures in their bank accounts. And you kind of like have to wonder why. And I even saw Elon tweet like maybe we should investigate this. Like, you know, like Nancy Pelosi's worth 9 figures, and a lot of other politicians, you know, some Republicans too, 8 figures. Like Dan Crenshaw is a big one. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad to see it. I want all these programs cut completely. Like I think that you can gut the government a lot. And we had another post about John saying the IRS massive layoffs is crazy. I'm not paying my taxes this year. I feel like it's not been enough. Like I feel like they fired, how many was it? Like 9,000 IRS agents.
They fired the probationary agents that like I think Biden hired to try to crack down on rich people, which is nonsense anyway. Well, like that whole Democrat mentality of punishing. Go ahead.
No, it was 87. Biden hired 87,000 new IRS agents, and Trump only fired 9,000 so far. So like, yeah, 9,000 sounds like a big number, but like not when 87,000 new ones came in. And you're right. Like it was crazy. Like everyone's saying they're trying to crack down on the billionaires and millionaires. Like no, like there aren't that many billionaires in this country.
There's not. That was Biden's whole thing, was like make them pay their fair share. And it's like, first of all, they pay almost all the taxes. And then secondly, you don't punish people for being successful. That's like the opposite of what you want. Like, you're not supposed to like try to force them. Like, yes, they should pay their taxes that they owe legally, but like you shouldn't be trying to penalize them for making money and being successful and creating jobs for people in the country. Because when you do that, that's why businesses leave. And that's why, these are the people that are actually employing the people in the country. They're the people that are innovating, and you don't punish people for being entrepreneurs. That like goes against the whole point of our society, like capitalism.
Yeah, we're not. America's not capitalist. I see that so often. They're like America, like from leftists. They're like, "Oh, capitalism's terrible." Like, look at America. I'm like, well, America's not capitalist. Like, in a capitalist country, you don't give away half your money. Like, half your money goes to the government, and then from the other half, if you buy something, a portion of that goes to the government. And then if you own your land, by the way, you have to pay the government, or they kick you off your land. And then, if you pass away you want to pass on your money to, your kids, some of that goes to the government too. So like you almost have like nothing left by the end.
No, I mean, it's the same thing. We're not a democracy. Also, we're like a constitutional republic.
Exactly. Yeah. I heard a great quote. I don't know who said it, but like whenever they're like, oh, they're going against our democracy, like that, like democracy doesn't make sense.
No.
Like for multiple reasons. But if you replace democracy with bureaucracy, like it makes so much sense. Like they're a threat to our bureaucracy. So yeah, we are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Trump's getting rid of it. So good.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I really want him to abolish the IRS completely. I think that I think I saw that like Trump is interested in that. Like he wants to replace it with tariffs, and he said that he wants like reciprocal tariffs, which makes a lot of sense. And like he wants to just charge other countries what they charge us, which I think is brilliant. Like why are they getting away with charging us money and like we don't collect any money in return? And I saw the argument saying that like, oh, it's going to stifle trade because these countries want to pay the tariffs. And I'm like, well, maybe they won't charge us tariffs. And if they don't charge us tariffs, then we won't charge the tariffs because it's reciprocal tariffs. So like, I think that could be like another one of Trump's ploys, just to this will increase trade if there are no tariffs. So
that's what I think. A lot of what he says is just a strategy to ultimately get it's like the strong arm people, which is good. Like America is the strongest country in the world, and so you should throw around America's weight to like get what you need, and to not get taken advantage of. And I think that's what he does. And the media takes him super serious, and they're like, it's the end of the world and whatever. And it's like this with the Canada and Mexico tariffs. It's like 2 days later they were like, oh yeah, all right, we called it off for a month. You know what I mean? It's like it's just so stupid. I just don't get like people like buy into it so much. It's so weird. And like. He can't come out and say these things to everybody. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a strategy. Like it wouldn't work. So
you know what? If he came out and said exactly what he was going to do, the same people would be like, "What an idiot! He's saying his whole plan."
Right? Yeah, I don't know. I think they're just people are just used to politicians doing nothing.
Yeah,
and like maybe doing one thing throughout their entire term and being like that was their big thing, like Obamacare, and I did Obamacare and. Even though like Obama quietly did a lot of other bad shit, but
Trump's like this 16-year-old U.S. citizen.
Yeah,
I'm gonna blow up kids. That's whole thing. I'm really looking forward to where this is going. I really want, as I said before, I want him to abolish the IRS. Not only that, and this is not going to happen. Like this is me maybe taking things too far. This is me wishing for too much. I think. I would not only abolish the IRS, I would put every single IRS agent on trial for grand larceny, conspiracy, a violation of the Fourth Amendment, and I would love to see them all rot in jail.
Every IRS agent?
Yes, every IRS agent. Not the ones who like serve coffee to like the higher ups, but like anyone who's ever audited anyone, I think should be in prison or at least put on trial to be in prison. I think it's disgusting, like what they do. Like they steal your money. Like if someone comes to your house and steals your money, like wouldn't you want to see them in prison? I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing. Because like,
well, yeah, I mean, I don't, whatever. I'm not like for like all IRS agents going to prison, but yeah.
Well, okay, maybe most. I to be fair, no, because like. The money they collect doesn't go to like. Anytime I say like there should be no taxes, no income tax, people are like, what about the roads? What about the schools? Like the income tax doesn't go to roads and schools. It goes to paying off the interest on the national debt. And and like why? Well, as far as that's concerned, maybe the Federal Reserve shouldn't be printing $540 million a day. Like, if they didn't do that, then our debt wouldn't be out of control. It's kind of insane. Federal Reserve, another institution that they, I think, even worse than the IRS. I think they should definitely be put on trial.
It's all run horribly. So
love to eat on my side. Label them as a terrorist organization. I agree. I'm definitely.
Wait, who? The Federal Reserve is a terrorist organization?
And IRS. Both.
That'd be funny. If you'd be like executive order calling them a terrorist organization.
I would do it. If I were president, that's exactly what I would do. I hate them so much. I like, especially as a business owner. Like it was, it's bad enough if you get robbed every year in April. as a business owner, I have to pay weekly to the IRS, like every single week. And if I want to hire people, this is called payroll tax. Like people don't realize how bad this is. Like income tax is terrible, and property tax even worse. But payroll tax, I think, is the worst of them all. Like people don't realize how bad this is. If I want to hire someone, I have to pay more in payroll taxes each week. If I want to give someone a raise, I have to pay more on payroll taxes each week. Like it makes no sense. Like it does not incentivize me to hire people. In fact, it incentivizes me to let people go. Like if I let someone go, my payroll tax gets like sliced by like 30%, and so I owe less money to the government each week. And it's like insane. I don't get like the thought process behind this. Like whoever thought of this is just an imbecile.
Well, and I think what makes it the worst is that then you find out all the fraud that you knew was going on, and like that's the thing. Like if you knew that everything was going towards something beneficial,
Sure.
then it would be one thing. But like that, like my kid's school asked us to like send in tissues and like shit like that for my kids, and I'm like, you guys can't afford tissues. You know what I mean? It's like just insane. Like I get really mad at stuff like that. I'm like, you need us to send in like tissues and like wipes, and I just don't understand. Like that's insanity. Like you can't. Like, can I just pay no taxes then?
Right.
If you can't even afford tissues after all that, like even when we went to high school, it's like there was like no upkeep of our school, any of our schools, even our grade school. There's no upkeep, and like it's just you can't have a nice building. At least it's like you pay all this like property tax. I don't know. Yeah, it all pisses me off.
Remember the disgusting bathrooms in our school, our high school?
Yeah.
So bad. I used to go down. I mean, no one's gonna appreciate this listening, but I used to go down to the gym and use the bathrooms down there because like no one even, first of all, no one even knew about them. There would be like two bathrooms at the back of the gym that like no one used, and so
I think I might have used those.
What'd you say?
I said I might have used those. I was always good at finding the lone bathroom that nobody knew about.
Yeah, we're like George Costanza, like finding
basically, yeah. The toilet.
Right, yeah, no one knew about them, and so like it was like always free. It was clean. Whereas like it's like oh man, like the regular bathrooms at our school was just so disgusting, and like it was in like the bad part of Philly too. Like, well, not like the worst part of Philly, but like a pretty bad part.
Yeah, pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. Like they were actually had announcements that like you can't cross the street because you would get mugged and you get your shoes stolen. And like you would hear about people like going across the street to get Chinese food and they would come back without shoes.
Yeah, it's true. And they would keep going back. They would keep getting Chinese food every day too because they were stupid.
Right. It's like it's like that. Like,
but yeah, that's what annoys me with the tax stuff. Is just like that kind of like this is like what pisses people off is like all the stuff Doge is finding out, which is like was obvious. Like who didn't know that? It's just nobody ever took any action against it.
I think it might have been obvious to us or anyone who's like engaged in politics, but I think to like the normies who don't realize this stuff, I think like the casual people are like, oh, I have to pay my taxes. It goes to all this stuff. Like, and I think they're just finding out like, no, your taxes hasn't been going to this stuff. It's been going into the pockets of these scumbag politicians.
And to pay back interest on our debt.
Right. I mean, exactly. Yeah. Like it shouldn't be this way. Like they screwed us out. Like it's just like the old generation siphoning wealth from the younger generation. It's awful. And I'm glad that someone's finally doing something about this. And I think that like anyone who opposes this stuff is just like either a bootlicker or they just or they're somehow like getting money from this.
They're somehow getting money or like. They're somehow getting money, or they still have that mindset where they feel like they still have to oppose Trump at every turn because that's like who their base. I don't really get like like Chuck Schumer and like people like I just don't. I don't know if they think that they still need to appeal to their base, like because like I guess they still have like liberal areas in their constituency that they feel like is like the only. I don't know. That's like the only thing I can think because it really doesn't make any sense. It's like it's so annoying at this point to like even read anything about Trump and like I actually think. Maybe they might actually be laying off a little bit considering like how much Trump is doing this time around. Mm-hmm. I actually think that they're not as hard on him as they were the first term as like I know it's like hard to believe, but like I feel like they're being a little bit more lenient in some ways, like not as harsh in like articles I read. Mm-hmm. I think it seems that way because he's doing so much now. I think him winning the popular vote changed a lot.
Yeah.
I think it. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I think
I think
yeah. Go ahead, say.
no, no, that was definitely a big factor. And you said it. That was very important. All right, did you hear the the scuttlebutt that we might be getting like a $5,000 check
Yes,
for reimbursement?
yes,
Are you looking forward to
yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think that people need like a tangible result of what Doge is doing, and I
Hmm.
think that's a good. Like, I know people would consider it like pandering or whatever, but
Yeah,
I think it's good. I think it helps the economy to, like, because you're not taking money. It's not like during COVID when, like, it was like handouts, like the government couldn't afford. It's like, yes, they're going to put some. I think they said they're going to put like 20% towards the debt, paying off the debt, and then like 20% toward back to the people, which is good. People should have like a tangible result of what's going on, like all this money that they're saving and that they're stopping fraud and waste, and actually like give back to people to spend, because people do need money, and it's good for the economy, I think. I mean, I'm not great with economics, so I don't know for sure, but like I would imagine that like if you're giving people money to spend that isn't like government handouts, it's actually like money that's being saved, as opposed to like
exactly.
as
Yeah,
opposed to just adding on to the debt. That's like what they normally would do. Like the Democrats would just give out, and Trump had to do it during COVID too. But
right.
like you had to give out money that was like just working against us. But like if it's money that we're actually saving, then I think it's good. I think it gives people like an actual. I think people need that. I think people need something tangible to, because like it's hard because most things in the federal government like don't really affect your life directly.
Hmm.
And so like you hear that they're cutting all this stuff, and it's like going to save money, but like it doesn't really help you personally. Like, you don't really see a benefit of it like right away. And I think people need to see some kind of benefit. And it'll also stop this whole stupid thing where like the Democrats have nothing else to go on, so they're like, what about the price of eggs? The eggs are still the same after a month. Like, what a stupid point. So
Well,
dumb.
yeah,
Yeah.
it had nothing to do with Biden calling all the chickens.
I mean, come on. Like, what do you think? Like, Trump's going to come in and be like an executive order on the price of eggs? That's not how it works.
Trump
Um,
is coming in like, I have all these chickens. They're in Mar-a-Lago. We're releasing all of them. They're the best chickens anyone has ever seen.
yeah, it's so stupid. They're like, what's he doing? He's doing all this stuff to save money, but like, what about the price of eggs? And it's like, come on, dude. It's so dumb.
I know. It's
Like,
like
they
the
know
one
better.
chicken always
Yeah.
reference, the price of eggs. It's like
Eh,
yeah, all the chickens were killed off because of the bird flu.
And if you,
Maybe has something to do with that.
he's trying to make America like self-sufficient with energy, which is a huge deal. That affects the prices of everything.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So,
as soon as
but yeah,
Biden cut off the Keystone pipeline, that's what escalated, the gas prices in the first place, and then everything else.
yeah, gas prices affect everything.
Yeah,
But obviously, after a month, the price of eggs isn't going to be less after a month of him being in office. It's so stupid.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even that. Like Biden affected that by killing all the chickens. Like of course the price of eggs are going to skyrocket. My dad was telling me that he has a friend who's like hoarding eggs. He's like selling them like for a lot. And like I don't know, like I don't know how viable that strategy is long term, but hey,
it's
it worked. It
it's
worked for
it's
him,
pretty smart. It's my son eats like 5 eggs a day.
really.
Yeah, so it's like I'm like broke basically. I need that 5,000 from the government.
Just need to buy the eggs.
And seriously, I need that egg money.
I yeah. Going back to the 5,000 real quick. I'm very anti like government handout. Even during COVID, I'm like, I get it at this point, but like, so we shouldn't have closed everything down. That was the dumb error.
The worst thing ever. That ruined everything for a long
Yeah,
time. Like,
exactly. So like this is a lot different. This is not government handouts. This is our money that we paid that we're getting back. Like in fact, it should be more than 20%. I get like paying down other stuff. It makes sense. And like people are like, no, we should do all on the national debt. I'm like, yeah, but that's what our taxes go toward anyway. Like we've seen the nonsense that their taxes are spent on. I'm someone who believes there shouldn't be any income tax, and so I think that we should get the entire pool of money back. So I don't know. I'm still gonna be happy with the $5,000. It's gonna go straight into covered calls. Like I can't wait to invest. The covered calls are amazing. And by the way, we're gonna do an episode about that in the future. The covered calls. It's free money in the stock market. It's insane. I'm so upset that I didn't learn about this earlier. But like they actually just give you free money in the stock market with covered calls. Like it's crazy. So Yeah, we're going to review all that. Patrick says this term is much more libertarian than last term with eliminating government waste and freeing Russ Ulbricht. Hopefully, the Russia peace deal isn't torpedoed by deep state actors. So I hope not. I hope that there is a peace deal. You mentioned Zelensky earlier and Putin. I've said on Twitter, and I do troll a lot, but this is sort of serious here. Like I view Zelensky as the bad guy here, and Putin as the good guy in the war. Only because, as from American standpoint, because one of these two guys has been stealing our money, and it hasn't been Putin. So I do, like I told you before, I'm rooting for Russia to win, which
oh jeez.
Take back the Donbass region, they'll be happy, and it'll be over. So.
Well, whatever. I don't agree with you on that stuff. But I did. You remember me saying, like I said months ago, if not even longer, that like exactly what they're saying now. Like I wish that Trump would make this more clear. Like there is no like Ukraine's losing the war because Biden didn't give them the weapons they needed quick enough to actually win. And so Russia entrenched itself in certain areas, and you're not going to get rid of them. Like they have unlimited manpower. So no matter how many weapons you have, unless it's like too late now. So there was never any chance of like Ukraine actually taking back territory, and they're actually losing, and they don't have enough men anymore. They're like scooping people off the street now from like bars because they're so desperate for soldiers.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's clear to most people that like they can't win. They can't win back that territory. There's no way, unless like America went in and did it for them, which we won't. So you have to make a deal. And so like the media keeps presenting it as though, he's like giving in to Putin and like that Putin's going to win, which is like not true. Putin would want to take over all of Ukraine, and that's not going to happen. So Putin's not going to win, but there is no way for Ukraine to get back that territory.
Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, Ukraine did go into Russia, into Kursk, to try to like get some leverage, which I don't know, like, how that'll benefit. Maybe it will. But like, yeah, like the thing is they have to make a deal. Otherwise the war is just going to go on indefinitely, and Putin will just keep throwing people at it. Like he doesn't care. He'll just keep enlisting people and conscripting. Like he doesn't give a shit. So yeah, that's like, I think they haven't made that clear. I wish that like somebody would explain that so that like they stop making the stupid point that like Trump's trying to make a deal so that Putin wins, and that like somehow Ukraine's going to magically get back all the territory that Russia took, which it's not ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my only point about that, is that like they don't make that. Nobody's like really communicating that, and so like the media kind of runs wild with this like Putin winning thing.
Yeah, Patch saying that the great Seymour Hersh reported Zelensky embezzled $400 million of U.S. aid. Yeah, look, John saying, quote, Putin is a good guy. Walt, I didn't say he is a good guy. I said in this war he is the good guy. Like between him and Zelensky, if I'd have been like, if I'm rooting for Putin, if I'm on Team Putin or Team Zelensky, I'm on Team Putin, because one of these guys robbed the U.S. and it wasn't Putin. So I don't care. Look, I don't care about this war. I don't care who wins. I just want my money back. And I think that we need to demand that Ukraine pays back, especially this $400 million that Zelensky embezzled. If this is true, then he needs to pay back every penny. Because like it's clear that all this money didn't go into this war. Like I think that's very obvious. I don't know if Zelensky embezzled anything directly. I think that like there's definitely money that got lost, and there's arms that have definitely like left the country and gone to other places. Oh yeah,
because there are a lot of. I mean, Ukraine is a very corrupt society, and there's a lot of like organized crime and shit, and they definitely like took weapons and money. I don't know how much Zelensky was involved in that. I'm anti-Putin. I'm not super invested in like the war. I mean, I want Ukraine to win personally, but I'm anti-Putin. I think Putin's the bad guy. I don't know enough about Zelensky to really know. Like, I'd have to see like how he is when he's president outside of wartime. Mm-hmm. It's not like Ukraine was like a super uncorrupt democratic society before.
No,
that's true.
Zelensky said like he's not holding elections, where we had elections during the Civil War. Like,
I mean, it would be tough. It would be tough to hold elections during like martial law when like there's territories that are still contested, and like those people can't vote, and there's also like hundreds of thousands of dudes that are like in the army that it'd be tough for them. The logistics of it would be tough. I don't know.
Well, Zelensky had a peace deal in front of him like 2 weeks into the war, and Boris Johnson flew to Ukraine to make sure that he didn't sign it. So yeah, Putin robbed the U.S. by attacking Ukraine in the first place. I mean, we could have just not done anything. Like, how many countries have attacked others throughout the years, and like the U.S. has not done anything about it? Like, we didn't have to intervene. I think it was ridiculous that we did in the first place, and we only intervened because Biden was complicit in the whole Burisma stuff, and they were laundering money through Ukraine. Like, that's why everyone from the deep state wanted the Ukraine war to keep going on, is because they were making money from it. Like, you see all this money getting lost. Like, where do you think it's going? I
don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I think we had reason to defend Ukraine, to try to degrade Russia's military, because like Russia is our adversary.
I don't think they really have military.
No, they do. I mean, it definitely degraded Russia's military. They are our adversary. Like, so is China. I think there was like, and you don't want countries just running amok and like invading other sovereign countries and like there's no consequence. I think it's like bad just for like global stability, regardless. So I think there was a reason to support them. I think that Biden had no end game and was just like literally just going to give them money, like slow walk weapons to them. So like not even give them the weapons that they needed, and then just keep giving them money like in perpetuity for like a war that would just never end, which made no sense. Like, you have to have some kind of like off ramp and some kind of plan, like a strategy. And I never understood that. Like, I don't understand what any of these countries are thinking with like that are against having any kind of deal with Putin. So it's like, what, are you just going to keep giving them money forever? And then like, what, like they don't even have any guys left to fight the war. Like, unless you're going to send troops, then like you have to have a deal. Mm-hmm. So unless NATO is actually going to get involved, which they're not, and then unless like the US is going to get involved, which is not, then like, yeah, you have to make a deal with Putin. There's nothing, Ukraine's not going to win.
No,
anyway.
No, they're not. And I know we're running up against time here. I know, like, go an hour. So I wanted to read two chat things real fast, and then we can head out. Zach Martin retired, says Cassandra. Yeah, it's not a surprise that Zach Martin talked about retirement. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, one of the best guards of our generation, probably the best guard in our generation. So yeah, an amazing career for Dallas. He was the Cowboys will miss him, but last year he wasn't as good as he was, and he got injured, so it's not a surprise. And then Cinder saying, how the hell did the Nets blow a 12.5 point cover after leading by 7 in the third? Yeah, they were up by 7 with like 6 minutes left in the third. Missed all their free throws at the end, lost by 13. That was brutal. I was watching that game as it was going on, and yeah, they almost covered, but that was ridiculous. They just, in the fourth quarter was a disaster for the Nets. Luckily, Cam Johnson got there; he got over, but that was a huge disappointment. And then Patrick saying Tucker's interviews with Jeffrey Sachs did an amazing job of recapping this war, and the Scott Horton book. Yeah, I haven't checked out the book yet, and I didn't see the interview. Real quick, did you see that interview before you head out?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, what was the interview? I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
Tucker's interviews with Jeffrey Sachs about.
No, I didn't see that. I actually haven't watched Tucker Carlson in a while.
Okay. Well, yeah, I used to watch him every night, and then now he has his own show. And I never like. I used to like Tucker talking by himself. I don't like the long interviews with people. It just feels like I miss like the old Tucker monologues that he used to have, like the first 10 minutes of each hour.
Yeah, that was entertaining. Yeah, it
was the best. I wish he'd do the monologue and then get into the interview, but he doesn't do that anymore. And then yeah, it's 2-2 USA. I bet on USA today. It's $25 bet. I don't know. Yeah. So all right. So we have to get going here. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Omnipheral, for joining us tonight. It's a great conversation. Hope we have it again sometime soon. Now that it's the off season, we can definitely do it. So thanks for coming on. Any final words? Anything you want to plug? Anything before we go?
Nah, nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be back on Saturday. Tom's not going to be on. He has family coming in from out of town. I'd mentioned that before. So I'll probably be flying solo unless I can get a guest on. It's always tough, like last minute, but we'll see. But anyway, we'll do a show regardless. And then next week we have Charlie coming on. Kenny's coming back from business trip. So it's going to be a fun week with the combine right around the corner. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share the video. This is the link in the description for the merch store. And yeah, have a great start to your weekend. And I'll be on Saturday. So I'll talk to you then.